is Tuesday, the Dalet Cheshvan Tavshin Ayin Zayin. We are in Teres V'Nachim Sefer Mamorim Tavshin Yud Gimel. We're in the Maimer Basi Legani, and we are on page Pei Daled at chapter Vov Ois Zayin. The Rebbe over here, up until now, in the last Ois, the last chapter, was explaining how, despite the fact that the neshama of every Jew stems from the Pnimi Sakelim of Atzilus, the inner dimension of the vessels in the realm of Atzilus, or higher yet, the root of the root is from the quarry of souls in Ak, the external dimension of Ak, which would seem to denote that there should be fragmentation, separation, difference between one soul and another. Says the Rebbe that when it comes to the Pintaliyah, to the Etzem HaNefesh, to the very essence of the soul, there is no difference. And that is because, despite these various sources and levels and realms, the soul always retains at its core its essentialness. And in its essence, it has the nitzutz beiri, the spark of the Creator, and because of that, in the idea of the Etzem HaNefesh, when it comes to the essence of the soul, all Jews are equal, the greatest of the great and the lowest of the low. And when there is a situation where the underlying connection between a Yid and Hashem is threatened, a Yid, for the most part, will give away his life to Hashem and cannot be separated from Gettlichkeit. However, there is something called the Ruach Shtus, the spirit of folly. Now that spirit of folly convinces the person that, notwithstanding that any misdeed, any transgression, is in essence a separation from Hashem, the spirit of folly makes one believe that that's not the case. But that is only possible so far as the four lower levels of the soul are concerned. In ascending order, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, and Chaya, which each have their own Ruach Shtus, as it were, that opposes each of those levels. When it comes to Yechidah, there is no Ruach Shtus. So that's the punchline, so to speak. But the Rebbe now elaborates on that. So up until this point, he explained that it is the nature of a Jew that he cannot be separated from godliness. And if it is the case that any transgression is a separation of godliness, how is it possible for a Yid to transgress at all? Chapter 6. Omnam, however, because of the spirit of folly that enters him, that makes it possible for a Yid to commit a sin, to transgress. What is the Ruach Shtus? So the Rebbe goes on to articulate, to explain what this Ruach Shtus is. The inyan of Ruach Shtus, the idea of this spirit of folly is, it is the forceful desire, the strong desire in physical pleasures, and it comes from it. What does that mean? Although we're talking about strong desires in physical pleasures, not prohibited physical pleasures, but rather, although we're talking about matters that are permitted, but through the fact that one is submerged within them, particularly if one has excitement and pleasure, der Koch und der Geschmack, he says in Yiddish, the excitement and the pleasure that he has from engaging in these physical pleasures. What is the flip side of that? It cools the person off. It cools him off from what? From kedusha, from holiness. It takes away from him the geschmack, the taste that one has in godliness. In other words, if one invests one's geschmack, one's enjoyment in one thing, in Gashmias, that is the antithesis to having a geschmack, enjoyment, a pleasure in godliness. Mishakos of as the Zohar states, took for the forcefulness of the body, chulsha de nishmasa, is the weakness of the soul. They work hand in hand. What does that mean, the weakness of the body, or the strength of the body, the forcefulness of the body? It doesn't mean the physical body. So he explains. The ein hakavon, I'll take if haguf kipshutay. We're not talking here about the actual physical strength of the body. Shari adram, on the contrary. Heyes haguf, this is a quote from the Rambam. And as the Rebbe says in footnote 12, that it should either say Midarke Avodas Hashem Hu or Midarke Yediyas Hashem Hu. But the quote is Hayos Haguf Bari V'Shalim, that for the body to be healthy and whole, Midarke Hashem Hu, Avodas Hashem or Yediyas Hashem Hu. This is from the ways of serving Hashem. So in other words, having a strong physical body is something desirable. Uki Yudu Ateres Baal Shem Tov is also known. The Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, the saying of the Baal Shem Tov, and the explanation of the Baal Shem Tov al Posik Kisir Chamer Gemer on the verse. The Torah states that if you see in Mishpatim, the Torah states that if one sees the donkey of one's enemy collapsing under its load, you should not refrain from helping it, right? But rather you should go and assist, make sure that the donkey doesn't collapse, and help him get on his way. So the Baal Shem Tov explained this in the deeper sense that this is a reference to the avodah of a person to Hashem. What is the pshat? He says, Kisir Chamer, when you'll have a look at your donkey, so to speak. Chamer is also from the expression of chumrius, which means materialism, which in other words means kashet istakel, when you will look, be'iyun tev, you'll make a good analysis, and look deeply into your materialism, shehu haguf, which is what? Your body, tira, you will come to the conclusion, you will see, seinacha. It's your enemy. What does it mean he's your enemy? Shehu seineas anashama, hamisgagas lelakus v'ruchnias. It despises the soul that yearns to godliness and to spirituality. It's the opposite of it. And another thing you will see, shehu revitz tachas masoi, that the guf, the materialism, the body, is collapsing under its load. What does that mean? Shenos an HaKadosh Baruch Hu haguf. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the body a mission. What is it? She is dachech, that it should be refined. It should refine itself. Al yidei Torah mitzvahs, through the fulfillment of Torah, learning Torah and fulfillment of mitzvahs. V'haguf mis'atzal b'kiyumam, and the body is lazy in fulfilling them. Is reluctant. If that's the case, perhaps you will have a thought that you should stop assisting the body. What does that mean? You should stop assisting the body from fulfilling its mission, but rather, what are you going to do? You will start with inflictions, physical inflictions, to break the materialism of the body, in order to attempt to sort of break the body so that it should become more subservient to fulfilling its mission and to learn Torah and fulfill mitzvahs. Says the Pasuk, and the Baal Shem Tov explains this in a deeper sense. This is not the way that that the light of Torah will dwell within you, but rather you should assist it and together with it. What does that mean? You should assist the body to refine the body and to purify it, and not to break it by inflictions, by physical deprivations. So what do we see from this Torah of the Baal Shem Tov again? That the physical body being healthy and whole is the way to go, not to break the body. Gam Yudua Mashakasav Rav Magid, it is also known that which the Magid of Mizrich writes, and he says in Yiddish, as izvert a klein lechele in guf, if a small hole appears, becomes present in the body, vert a größer loch in der neshama. That in turn causes a big hole in the soul. So what is the conclusion from all this? From the Zohar, from the Baal Shem Tov, and from the Magid, the Mikolzim movement from all this, it's understood that when the Zohar says the tuk for the gufa, that the force of the body is the weakness of the soul, ein hakavana ala guf. We're not actually referring to the physical body itself, ki'im hakavana, but rather what are we referring to? Well, nefesh hativis. We're referring to the natural soul. Shatik, if shalom nefesh hativis, it is that the forcefulness and the strength of the physical soul. Shuham meishul boy, who is the one that rules in the body. Los sicharayim betanugin gashmim, and when he enters in a strong way into physical pleasures, hine afshem dvarim motorim, although they are permitted things, mikol makom, this involvement and being submerged and so attached in physical pleasures, permitted physical pleasures, hine zemekarer, this cools down. This has the effect of cooling down esachem, the warmth shetzarich b'kedusha, that needs to be where? Invested in what? In holiness. And it takes away the gishmak, the enjoyment, the involvement the pleasure that one needs to have in godliness. And that is what? That is the Ruach Shtus. That is the Ruach Shtus. And therefore, concerning the time to come, it says, V'hishka is nachal hashitim. It's a pasuk in Malachi. Malachi says, Umayon mi beis Hashem yetzei, a stream, a wellspring will come forth from the house of Hashem. V'hishka is nachal hashitim, and it will irrigate, it will water nachal hashitim. There are a number of explained. Rashi in the Mitzvahs explained that Nachal Hashitim, Nachal can have two interpretations. Nachal can mean like a stream of water, Nachle Mayim, right? Nachal can also mean a valley. So Rashi in the Mitzvahs seem to explain that it means a valley, but in Medrash, and in other places, it explains over here Nachal of Shittim meaning a stream of water.
Same thing, isn't it? A stream goes in a valley.
Yeah, but one is dry and one isn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but be that as it may,
You
here the
can
Rebbe...
have a dry riverbed.
Yeah, that's also true. Like a lot of the wadis are referred to as Nachal and so on and so forth. But anyway, here he's certainly referring to as Nachal HaShittim, that in Shittim also there was a stream, which was a Nachal. So the Mayan comes forth from where? From the house of Hashem, which is basically the Beis HaMikdash. And it'll sort of fill up Nachal HaShittim. Medrash, I think in Yalkut Shemini, talks about what that Shittim was a place that was prevalent and prone to negativity. That's where the Yidden stumbled after Bilam told Balak he couldn't curse the Yidden, so he gave them advice that he should create circumstances that they should engage in negative behaviors. And that took place in Shittim.
What's interesting is the whole thing about water. The water is the emotion.
Well, this is exactly the point that he makes here. So, what Nachal HaShittim is a type of water which is negative because there are certain areas that are prone to certain things. Shittim was a place that was prone for Avedis. So therefore Hashem dries up the Nachal and it's irrigated by what? By the water that comes out from the house of Hashem. It's this transformation, so to speak. So this is the point that he makes over here. So therefore, concerning the time to come, when everything will be transformed and uplifted, negativity and impurity will be removed and transformed, it says, V'hishkas nachal hashitim, that the stream coming forth from the house of Hashem, from the Beis HaMikdash, will water the nachal hashitim. The nachal kipshutay, when we talk about it, the simple meaning of nachal, hu mimayim, it's made up of water. What is nachal hashitim in the deeper sense? The nachal hashitim hu b'chinas hatanugim agashmim. Shittim again from the expression of what? Shtus, and that's what we're talking about over here. The ruach shtus. So nachal hashitim, when we say nachal hashitim in the deeper sense, it's the waters of shtus. In other words, meaning to say, we're talking about waters that make all physical pleasures. When you say nachal hashitim, this is a reference to physical pleasures. As the Rebbe Marash explains, as the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that why is water related to the idea of pleasures, as you just mentioned, Kevin? Because water causes all pleasures to grow. What does that mean? We know that in order for things to grow, you need all sorts of things. You need a seed, you need soil. So why is the physical pleasure related specifically to what? to water. That is what causes the tzmicha, the growth. The af asher the tzmicha tzrichim harbe dvarim. For although when it comes to plant and to grow, we need what? Many different things. Im kol zeh ikar tzmicha min hamayim. The main growth comes forth from what? From the water. That is why water, nachal hashitim, is a reference to tanugim gashmim. That specific element. Why indeed is the why indeed is the engagement, or rather, why are physical pleasures, even permitted ones, called shtus, folly? Why indeed are physical pleasures shtus, folly? Besides the fact that many physical pleasures, their end is bitter, meaning to say that excessive involvement and consumption or engagement in physical pleasures has a bitter end. It causes all sorts of negativities, right? Like addictions, etc., etc. Even those things that are indeed a pleasure, and in other words, they would in that sense be okay, but they're physical pleasures. It is known, we say in Nishmas, at the end, we say, all my bones will say, God, who is as great as you, right? My soul, David says, my soul will bless Hashem, and all my insides will praise His holy name. So he also explains here, Krovai, insides, it really literally means the internal organs, so to speak, right? So he says that there are malachim that are called internal organs, the spiritual digestive system. That they separate the different aspects, the good from the negative, and so on and so forth, right? So he explains like this. It is known concerning the matter of all my insides will sing your praises, David HaMelech says. So the deeper sense, it explains the kravai koyal malachim nikroim b'shem kravayim. This is a reference to angels that are referred to as kravayim, internal organs. The kmeisha kravayim him amavarim aseichel min apselos v'apselos nitchel lachutz, just like the internal organs of a person. Refine, purify, separate the food from the pselos. What's the pselos? The waste matter. V'apselos nitchel lachutz, and the waste matter is pushed outside, is expelled. In the physical sense, so to above. In the spiritual sense, yesh malachim, there are angels, that as it were digest or refine, separate, process the pleasurable flow from above, meaning to say the hashpah of the bestowal of pleasure that Hashem gives, or particularly when it comes to the pleasures of kedusha, of holiness. So the angels, as it were, process that and separate mimashu pselis berkam. It separates that which is kedusha from that which would be considered as waste matter relative to their level. So even though we're still talking about something that could be holy, but relative to the level of the angels, it's pushed outwards and downwards. What happens through a great process of ishtalshalos, of descent from this? Shemishtalshalon mata, this descends below in a chain, in the manner of a process of ishtalshalus. Umizenis havu, ultimately what comes from this is hatanugim gashmim. So in other words, from the spiritual waste matter, ultimately what comes about in the physical sense? Physical pleasures. And it is for this reason why physical pleasure is called as shtus, folly. Because in real sense, what is it? It's waste matter. Right? If one would be mindful of the fact that it is actually that, why would somebody want to derive pleasure from that? Obviously, it's shtus. It's folly. In addition to this, when one understands and knows that through engaging in physical pleasures, that causes one to lack pleasure in godliness, it's not only folly, it's great folly. That he exchanges physical pleasure, which really and truly in essence is what? Waste matter. Exchanges that for what? Instead of that, instead of having pleasure in Getlichkeit, which is really the main tainuk. Now, what causes one to engage in this, the Ruach Shtus? That's what the Rebbe is going to explain in chapter 7. And we will continue in Mitzvah Shem on Thursday. Have a wonderful day.